This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
The conversation around Roths has been at the forefront of financial and retirement planning for the past several years for many different reasons. The Roth umbrella, John, is a big one. I think that to just say Roth, it's like, well, what part of Roth are we discussing? And that's what I wanted to dial in a little bit further on. Roth IRAs specifically, and the conversation, the idea of a backdoor Roth. So,
okay. Yeah.
Contributing to a Roth IRA has its limits, an IRA specifically, a Roth IRA, because as it stands right now in the year 2026, the rules that are for a Roth IRA, at age 50 and older, you're only allowed to contribute up to $8,600 per year. That's including your catch-up contributions. I'm asking you to fact check me on this stuff.
Yep.
Okay. And if you make too much money, if you're a high income earner, so for single people, that's $168,000 a year. For married couples, that's $252,000 a year. You're shut out. You can't contribute to a Roth IRA.
Exactly. If you make too much money, they take away our ability to even use it in the first place.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Limits, boundaries, rules all around us.
Absolutely.
However,
regulations.
Here's the big however. Not all is lost. So wealth planner Tim Steffen, he was on with Morningstar talking about the option that I previously mentioned, the backdoor Roth. This is Tim Steffen.
If you're not able to contribute because your income's too high and you don't have any IRA dollars to convert, the backdoor is a way to do that. So you put money into the traditional IRA and then wait some period of time, sometimes a day, sometimes longer, depending on what people want to do. And then you convert that to a Roth IRA. So backdoor Roth isn't really a thing. It's really just a traditional contribution followed by a conversion, which anybody can do that. That's a perfectly legitimate strategy. Sounds
straightforward, but also, John, I feel like it's one of those things that can get complicated and things can go awry when somebody tries to do something like this, like a backdoor Roth on their own, and then the details get in the way.
Yeah. And I've actually witnessed people, unfortunately, do this very incorrectly.
Really?
And it cost them a lot of money in taxes. And it caused them, because of their age, it cost them to not be able to touch that money without penalty for a longer period of time.
Tell us stories. Let us learn from experiences. Yeah.
So a backdoor Roth is actually, it's a sequence. It's actually not an account. So when we're talking about a backdoor, what we're saying is, hey, some of us, if we do too well, we made too much money, or we don't have money in a traditional IRA right now, how do we get money into a Roth in the first place? Well, this allows us to do it, hence backdoor. We're able to do it by utilizing one or two little loopholes. They're not major, but it's a sequence. So what it allows us to do, if we make too much money or we've already done our job, we can make a non-deductible contribution to an IRA. Okay. So we didn't get a tax break, but that's okay. And then we can then convert it from that traditional IRA to a Roth. And we typically want to do that within a day or so. Why? Because there's no use to having that money in a traditional IRA, because then we will have taken after-tax dollars, money that we've already paid taxes on, and put it in a place that we're going to potentially have to pay future taxes when we pull it out. But what happens if we take, let's say, $5,000 and put it in a non-deductible traditional IRA, the very next day we convert that to a Roth, what happened? Well, we were able to get money into the Roth, even if we make too much money. That's part number one.
Yeah.
Number two, there will be no tax implication. We don't get a tax break anyway because we put the money into a non-deductible IRA. So it's a moot point. So now we get the money in a Roth. Not so bad. Now, here's the important point. We can potentially do this with our 401ks if we have that covenant. Now, this is where it gets kind of exciting because, again, when we're talking about making a non-deductible contribution to a traditional IRA, those still have all kinds of limitations. Up to $8,000 or $8,600 for this year is the only amount of money we can put in that anyway. Now, done correctly, and you have to look at your 401k and how it operates it. Now, if you're in our areas, we'll do that for you. And or if you work for one of the major companies that we deal with, Exxon, Chevron, Schlumberger, UPS, AT&T, if you work with any of these companies, we already know those plans very well. And we know which ones will allow us to make conversions and which ones won't. But here's the interesting thing about doing a backdoor Roth 401k.
Okay.
The limitations are different. We can potentially put up to $60,000 in a backdoor Roth 401k. Now, number one, your plan has to allow for that. So that means that you have to have the ability to take non-deductible assets and put them into your 401k plan. Many, if not most, large 401k companies offer that. Then, just like we talked about with the backdoor Roth, you take that traditional 401k and you convert just those dollars that you put in there that don't have any earnings yet. You convert that to the Roth, potentially up to $60,000 in a year. Now, that can be basically like Roth compounding on steroids. Now, you do have to deal with all of the servicing issues and all of the rules of your 401k. But guys, that is a way for many people that are high earners to take a large, tremendous amount of money that's, think about it, sitting in your bank account, sitting in your savings account, only earning a few percent, instead of it sitting there, earning a few percent and then paying taxes on that annually. You can put that into the non-deductible portion of your 401k, convert that to your Roth 401k, potentially up to 60 grand, and let that money do that. That is pretty awesome. That is wealth building on steroids, assuming you understand that there's still all the normal commitments that deal with a Roth, right? So we need to leave the gains in there for at least 5 years, or they're potentially taxable to us. If you pull it out before 59 and a half, you could pay a penalty, all those other things. But this is a thing that we've been seeing for years, and a lot of well-compensated middle managers and executives, they use this all the time. We showed them how to do it, because I could not personally get a lot of money into Roth myself. I'm like, how can I get out of constantly paying taxes every year on these things? And again, it doesn't solve the problem completely, but to potentially be able to put tens of thousands of dollars more into a tax-free bucket, guys, that's really good. So you always want to do the math. Does it make more sense for you to have a traditional IRA or 401k? Or does it make more sense for those new allocations to go to Roth? For many of us that have done well, or we're really good savers. I mean, we've done a good job saving. We've got $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million. Those kind of dollars, we want to get as much money in the tax-free side as we can without paying through the nose to get it there, right? That's the big thing. We still need tax deductions on an annual basis, right? So we don't want to forego all of the opportunities to get tax deductions on an annual basis. But again, how do we get that money in that tax-free situation? That's what we work on in the office, because Roths are a great starting point for almost all of us because of the 2025 tax code changes that Congress passed. It's great. It opened up a lot of doors. It brought back a lot of loopholes that have always been there, but now they're just more attractive to consider again. So we can potentially have some more income offsets to do some of these conversions, right? And for some people, it's great. For some people, they don't want the complexity. It just really depends. But if you really look at it, to get money in tax-free places is really great. You can use some forms of properly done insurance that are institutional quality. So you're not buying insurance. You're trying to utilize the tax code wisely to utilize insurance to be a growing asset, which could be okay. It's not for everyone. There's all kinds of rules involved in that. But those are those types of things we explore in our office. What are the greatest ways that we can have taxable money invested, tax-deferred money, and tax-free money, right? So those are the biggest things. If we get those three buckets right, and we understand how much protection we need, how much income we need, and how to be tax efficient, that's about 90% of retirement, right? The investments that we all focus on, believe it or not, a lot less important. Whether we own good Vanguard funds or good Fidelity funds or good Schwab funds or good Goldman Sachs funds, good American funds, it almost kind of at the end of the day doesn't matter nearly as much as getting the right type of asset in the right bucket. That's it. Believe it or not. And if you look at it, 90% of actual investment gains, you have to fact check me on that. It may be 85, but I think 90% of the gains in most portfolios is asset allocation, not the actual investment selection, which is a really big deal. 9% of a 10% gain is really just because we were in the right asset class at the right time, not the actual right investment. So look at that in your portfolios. It may be something you can do. And if you want to know, does a mega backdoor Roth make sense for you, or those types of things, give our staff a call. This is what they do. They're going to simply run through the numbers and find out what's more efficient for you to do. Should you just keep getting the tax deferral, or are you expecting to have a large tax bill down the road? What are the ways that we can not only kick that can down further by deferral, what are ways that we can truly mitigate some of those future tax positions by just doing really good planning? There's no silver bullet or magic wand. It's just really good planning solves a lot of problems that people wind up in. So start there, and you probably have a much better shot of getting it right.
What are some red flags we need to watch out for? Because you brought up the idea of people that did misstep.
Yeah.
What do we need to be careful about?
Don't do it just because you heard it on the internet or heard some talking head talk about it. You have to do the math. I know math is a 4-letter word, but you have to do the math. There are so many people that come in and say, John, I pay too much in taxes, man. I got to get all this money tax-free. They're just not using the current tax code correctly. They don't need to do a conversion. They need to get the right assets in the right buckets. We saw a couple that came in a few weeks ago. And they had done a masterful job saving over $3 million. They'd done a great job, but they both just lost their jobs. Great positions, but they lost him. He was 65, she was 58. And the crazy thing is that what I saw in their plan had all of the opportunity in the world to change. And he was really gung-ho on the idea that I want to get everything to Roth. We actually showed him, Heather, that just by repositioning assets inside of his traditional IRA and then repositioning other assets inside of his Roth, the same assets, just switching them around, he was going to be able to produce a $98,700 a year annual income completely tax-free coming from his taxable account. What? That's right, because if you're in a certain bracket of the tax code, you do not pay any taxes on your capital gains. Had he actually done a ton of Roth conversions, he would have eliminated that opportunity, and he would not have had the opportunity to basically make $100,000 a year with no taxes at all. Guys, that's what I'm talking about. That's why we have to do the math. There's so many things past that talking point or that buzzword or that great theory that everyone's talking about. When you put your actual math to it and look at it, it will honestly just tell you which direction you need to go down. Do you go down, I-65? Are you going down 64? Are you taking 99 west? Are you taking I-45 all the way down to the Gulf of America? Whatever you choose, depending on where you find yourself on that map, should tell you that interstate, or in our thing, our intra-portfolio thoroughfare. That's the big piece. And if you get that right, you're so much better off compared to most of our neighbors.
There's lots of Roth opportunity, but understanding how Roth conversions, Roth IRAs, backdoor Roths, Roth, how it applies to you specifically, as Jon has been pointing out, you got to know. You got to do the math. You have to understand what opportunities you do or don't have and how it works best for you. At J. Hagan Capital, they are here to go through those things with you, help you understand what your options are. Reach out to us. You can click on the links we've got posted here or head to our website, retirementsolutionshow.com.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 1882794.